Have you ever been in a situation where the rules of the world didn't seem to apply for a moment? That's kind of what we're talking about when we dive into the idea of miracles. Not in a cheesy, faith healer kind of way, but as events that make you go, wait, what? Think of it like hitting a glitch in the matrix. Something happens that we can't easily explain with the regular ways of how stuff works, creating a moment of wonder and making us ponder things a bit deeper than usual. Now, miracle isn't just a word we throw around when something cool happens. It's a term packed with history and philosophical arguments. Imagine a doctor suddenly curing someone with a terminal illness when science says it's impossible, or something completely unexpected saving you from a bad accident. These are the kinds of scenarios that get debated when we talk about miracles. They aren't things we can just chalk up to natural causes, raising questions about forces outside our typical understanding of the world, and they get us wondering if there is something more to life. But here's the thing, defining a miracle is tricky. Some say it's when something goes against the expected order of nature. Picture a river flowing uphill or a broken bone healing instantly. It's like nature's normal programming gets a sudden, unexplainable override. But what if a situation is just something we haven't quite figured out yet? Like a new scientific discovery or a medical anomaly? Do we immediately label every weird instance a miracle? It's easy to feel like we can be a little bit hasty sometimes when we try to explain things we don't understand. It's like a plot twist in a movie. It shifts the narrative in a surprising way, forcing you to rethink what you thought was possible. David Hume, a big-time philosopher, actually defined miracles as violations of natural laws. But this creates a new problem. What exactly are these laws? Are they concrete and fixed, or just our best guesses about how things usually operate? And if they're just regular occurrences, then would a violation mean that what we thought was a law wasn't really a law? It is difficult to see where the line is drawn and how far we should really define things when there is clearly a lot we don't understand. Here's where the idea of miracles gets super relevant to our daily lives. Let's say you're at a concert and suddenly the band plays your favorite song, not on the set list. You might call it a lucky surprise, right? But what if that coincidence seems so incredibly unlikely that it felt almost supernatural? That feeling is what a lot of people feel when discussing the existence of miracles. It's that moment when a coincidence is so unlikely that the normal rules of the world just seem to pause for a second, even if it's just in your mind. Okay, now let's get to the core argument. Some people claim that miracles can be evidence of something bigger than us, maybe even a god. Imagine a loved one miraculously surviving a car crash that should have been fatal. For some, this isn't just a lucky break, but a sign of divine intervention. But for others, it may be just a lucky coincidence. These claims, if proven, may point to the existence of an outside force, like a deity. This idea hinges on the thought that our natural world, with all of its rules, isn't the only thing there is, and these miracles would point to some sort of higher power. Here's where things get dicey. It's easy to get emotional about these claims, and it's important to look at them logically. When people argue for miracles, they often use eyewitness testimony. I saw it, I swear. But how reliable is this evidence? Are people telling the truth, or might they have misunderstood or even embellished things a little? When something amazing happens, emotions can be really high, and people tend to remember things in ways that they didn't necessarily happen. This means we have to be really careful about what we believe. There are basically 4 types of arguments for miracles: deductive, criteria-based, explanatory, and probabilistic. Deductive is like a math problem. If A and B are true, then C must be too. Criteria-based arguments try to set rules of what a real miracle must look like. Explanatory, which looks for the best theory for an event based on available facts. And finally, probabilistic arguments look at how likely something is to happen by natural means. All of these argument styles can have value, but require a lot of critical thinking. Now, it's always good to take a step back and think about the reasons that could be behind miracle claims. Like, how much can personal experience really tell you? Can you really trust your senses? In daily life, our biases and perspectives can always make things a little less clear. For example, what happens when you're really tired and you think you saw something, or when you're emotionally invested in a belief and might be willing to look past inconsistencies? Being critical about what we believe and what sources we trust is something that can really benefit a person. So what about arguments against miracles? Some argue that they're logically impossible. This is like saying the laws of physics can never be broken. Others claim that even if miracles were possible, they could never be credibly proven, making it hard to believe that an actual miracle ever happened. It can feel like a real chicken or the egg scenario sometimes, or like trying to decide if you should pick option A or option B and not being sure if you picked the right one. We all like to get a good story, and the allure of miracles is hard to ignore. It's often that when something incredible or unusual happens, we want to jump to the most fascinating and amazing conclusion, when there might just be a natural yet unexpected explanation. But we have to be careful about this, because the more complex and intriguing something seems, the more that you should question, not because you are trying to be cynical, but to be sure that the facts are as they should be. The big question then is, if a miracle could be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, would it really mean that God exists? It seems like a logical leap, and while a miracle might make it seem much more likely, there are so many other factors that go into that idea, such as if an agent even exists in the first place. Ultimately, miracles are a fascinating and mysterious subject that have always led people to question and think deeper about what's possible and what's not. And maybe the greatest miracle isn't some impossible thing, but the fact that our minds are able to grapple with all of these concepts. So if you saw something happen today where you thought that's impossible, would you see it as an incredible coincidence or a small miracle?